Hello everyone, welcome in to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about Feral Druid and whether it needs a rework or not. A lot of people actually come into my stream and they say, Sai, do you think that Feral needs a rework? Do you think that'll fix it? Do you think that'll be the way that Feral will finally be like good again? So I just wanted to talk about that a little bit, give you my thoughts and my opinions on whether or not it should be reworked and as to why. Today's video is sponsored by SquadOV. You can use their tools in order to download quickly and easily your content, your VODs from World of Warcraft, a whole host of other different games. It's all automatic. You can go through, check out all kinds of great stats and information about your previous games in those VODs. And I offer coaching to help people with Feral Druid and survival gameplay. You can use SquadOV, you can join my squad. I can quickly and easily check out your gameplay, see where you're going right, see where you're going wrong. So thank you to SquadOV. Check out the description for more details and DM me for coaching. So the biggest thing for me when people talk about like reworking Feral is I kind of say why, you know, like why do you want to rework Feral? What is it that you feel you would gain from a rework? Because I think a lot of people say, oh, a rework would be good, but they don't really then account for the fact that you're massively going to overhaul things, right? Because that's what a rework's going to be. You might have a new resource. Do you want to get rid of combo points? Do you want to get rid of energy? Do you want to have something else instead? Do you want your, completely change how your abilities work? What if Blizzard go way more down a spam playstyle of Feral rather than a bleed-based playstyle of Feral if they were to do a rework, And then a lot of people would say, oh no, we wanted more bleeds. So there's a lot of things to weigh up when you actually talk about having a rework. It's not as simple as, oh, I'm going to get everything I've ever wanted for Feral now that it gets reworked. So I think that's something that you need to account for when you do think about a rework. Look at what happened to Survival Hunter. It went from being a predominantly range spec that used traps to now being a full-on melee spec. So you can have radical changes. Shadow Priest is another one that got reworked, I believe in BFA, though my memory is hazy and I'm reaching there, but I believe it was BFA, it got reworked a bit. And I think even in Shadowlands it got reworked, or touched on at least a little bit as well. So I think you have to be careful with just asking for reworks here. The big thing on how I feel is it's like a yes and no for me. I don't think that Feral should be reworked for two reasons. I think two reasons. One, I don't trust Blizzard to... Looking at how they've kind of catered to Feral in the last few years, it feels like they either don't really understand the spec, which I doubt is true, because if you don't understand, there's no way they don't understand the spec. It's their game, right? That would just be crazy. So it's either that they don't understand the spec, or that they just don't care about it, or something like that, where they're just not putting the effort into Feral that it requires. So if they were then to rework Feral, would they just half-ass it? Would they put in the effort that's required or not? Because that's my concern is, if Feral was to get a rework, which, in all honesty, who knows, maybe I'd be down for. I'd actually be very, very interested in a lot of specs and classes getting, reworks, quote-unquote, and just getting shifts in gameplay, because things have played pretty much more or less the same since they were put into the game in Classic, everything has more or less the same abilities. Yes, some things work differently, and because of tier sets and conduits and soulbinds and all that kind of stuff, yes, you have different play styles. But generally speaking, Mage's still using Frostbolt and Blizzard. Feral's still using Rip and Rake. I don't know, stuff like that, right? So a lot of things have kind of stayed similar since vanilla. So I'd be down for a rework. I'd be down for that kind of stuff. I just don't know that I trust Blizzard to put in the effort into Feral that it would require to really make it special again. So that's why I'm a little bit cautious about getting a complete rework. I do, however, think that Feral could have a slight rework, and the idea behind this would be, and in my opinion, obviously this is my opinion, obviously it's influenced by the gameplay that I choose to play and the way I like to play and all that kind of stuff. So for me, I would like Feral to be a bleed-based spec again, specifically in single target and in raid environments, right? So 1 to 3 targets or whatever, it's bleed based. But then you go into Mythic Plus, and then my idea would be that you'd have a very different playstyle with going like a spam build where you go things like wild flesh rending and you're emphasizing your swipes and damage coming from that, and you're going crit versatility instead of crit mastery, and it's very spammy. You're just swiping and Primal Wrath in. You could throw in things like Savage Roar and whatnot to make the rotation a little bit more interesting at the same time, but the general idea being very spammy and very fast paced, right? That would be my idea for reworking Feral Druid. Single target bleed, and in raid generally bleeding, and then in Mythic Plus generally swipey spammy, because I think those two playstyles emphasize well in those two different categories. So I would like that. Another thing with reworking Feral Druid that I guess not a lot of people consider is the fact that so many people in the Feral Druid like scene, the community and everything, they don't always agree on everything together, right? There are Feral Druids who go, oh yeah, I'd like Feral to be like this, and a lot of, other Ferals just go, oh my god, that's such a terrible idea, that's like the worst thing I've ever heard, you suck. And then for other people, they go, oh yeah, that's an amazing idea, right? Like, there's all kinds of different ways in which people want Feral Druid to play, and different abilities and stuff that they want us to have, and spells to get rid of and include, and things like that. So, I see people saying, like, oh, Feral Druid needs an AoE, like, finisher or something like that. I'm like, yeah, we have Primal Wrath. And they're like, no, like, another one. And I'm like, but we already have one. Why would we have two? It doesn't make any sense. Like, and, I do think that Feral Druid in general, though, when you look at the actual spec, it has a lot of stuff. It has pretty much everything you need, right? The way I always say when everyone goes, like, oh, we need to add more to Feral, is I always say just, like, well, we have a single target combo point generator that isn't a bleed. We have the same that is a bleed. We have an AoE combo point generator that is a bleed, and we have an AoE combo point generator that isn't a bleed. We have a single target non-bleed finisher. We have a single target bleed finisher. We have an AoE bleed and non-bleed finisher. Primal Wrath is both, right? So like, I look at our abilities, I'm like, well, we have every kind of combination, and because of that, we're very malleable, and we can like very carefully pick and choose our rotation. I like that we don't have things on CD. I like that you can press any button anytime. Therefore, it becomes about pressing the right button at the right time. I like all these things about Feral Druid, so I wouldn't really want to see those things change. But by all means, I'd be open to hearing ideas. But for me, I don't think Feral needs a rework. I think it just needs a little bit more love and attention. A big thing for me as well when people talk about like reworking Feral is I kind of just... I don't know how it would all work. I mean, at the moment, Feral Druid's in such a weird place where technically, well, where owl weaving is a thing. Technically, swiping on single target is a DPS gain. But I think that stuff definitely needs to be fixed. That's more so what I would consider in a rework of Feral, is just Blizzard addressing those things, those issues with Feral. But yeah, that's kind of my take is, TLDR... I'd be open to ideas on a rework. I don't think we need one. I think that there are other things that you can do, these slight changes, slight maneuvers that will result in a better gameplay for Feral rather than just completely reworking it. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Let me know if you have any suggestions of how you'd like to see it reworked and whatnot. But thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to check out SquadOV, our sponsor for today.